Hi, dear developers. We are here to show you in our first screencast how to build a simple application with Baasbox and the Android SDK. So we have just an open project with one of the samples, the simplest one. This is the diary, note-taking application, and we have, as you can see, just downloaded the Baasbox server from the download site, baasbox.com/download. So to get you started, we just need to unzip the simple this zip file, and then on the desktop we will find our Baasbox directory. Take a look inside. We will see that there is just one other directory lib and the start scripts. If you are on a Mac like me or Linux, you just need to execute the start script, or on Windows, obviously you need to use start.bat. And to get started, let's just show what the application does. So start the server. As you can see, after some logging, the server is listening on local host on port 9000. So just go there with a browser. As you can see, we are running Baasbox version 0.8.3. So we can just log into the server without changing anything. The default login is used, admin username, admin password, and this is the opcode that Baasbox uses to recognize your calls to the server. So just click login. To show what this application does, we just need to take just one step in the administration console, and it is to create just one collection. The collection will be called, as you can see, memos. Here we are. We have created a collection. As you can see, the collection is now empty. It does contain all records, 0 records. So to show what the application does with the project imported in IntelliJ or Android Studio or Eclipse, we just start the application with the run, and let's take a look in the emulator at what the application does. So here we are. Application has started, and as you can see, we have a login screen. We are first presented with a login screen where we can just log in with the username and password. Since there are no users registered with the application, we just need to use the register button. Okay, and we are presented with an empty screen for now. What we can do with this application is create notes and save them on the server, and then look back at them later. So just add one note. As you can see, we are presented with an editing screen with we will fill this form with our first note. Nice to meet you, Baasbox. So press add, and as you can see, we have one node listed. But more importantly, if we just refresh the console, you can see that we have a new node, a new record that has a title and content. So what we can also see is that there is one more user, the one that I registered with, and what you can also do in the application is show the content of the node. As you can see, we have title, content, and the creation date that was seen by the server, So go back and just log out from the application, so that we can take a look at the code that allows us to realize this simple application. As you can see, we have some constants in the defined to not repeat ourselves in defining the pieces of the application, the pieces of the nodes. The first thing that you usually want to do in a Baasbox Android application is override the default application. As you can see, we have created a custom one, and it is named Dear Diary. This is the implementation. It's a really simple implementation because, as you can see, what you have to define is just the kind of authentication that you want to use, and you can use session token or simple basic authentication. We are going to use session tokens, and the API domain is the address where we want the application to connect to, and from an emulator standpoint, the localhost of your machine is seen as 10.0.2.2, and Baasbox by default starts on port 9000. This is the same opcode that we have used to log in the administration console, and so we can initialize the Baasbox client calling this method. What the application does is it tries to start with the listing of the nodes, but at the first run it will fail because there is no. It requires to have a logged in user, and we have no one. So at this step, we just check to see if there is a current logged in user with this simple call, and if it's not the case, so we don't have any Baasbox user, we start the login screen. So as you can see, we finish the current activity and start a new task with a new login screen. The login screen is implemented by login activity. Login activity presents just two simple edit texts and a pair of buttons and some progress to show that it is working. Leaving out the specifics of Android, as you can see, what we do is when we try to click on the buttons, we call this method attempt login, and this will perform some validation of the input in the edit text fields, and then just call the sign up with Baasbox. Sign up with Baasbox is the method that actually tries to contact the server. So we have just two cases. If we we are using returning user. We will provide username and password, and we probably we will have pressed login in the first screen, sign in. Otherwise we would press register, so we choose which one of these two cases is, and we create a new user with username and password, and we just sign up or log in. Those are asynchronous. These are asynchronous methods. So we will provide a callback to these methods, and it is this simple interface. Extended this buzz handler, and it will provide us with a buzz result of buzz user. It could be a failure, so we log it, or it could be a successful login or registration, and we will complete the login, hiding the progress bar that we initially showed, and starting again the main activity. So here we are in main activity. Following what actually happens in the application, at this point we will have an empty, probably empty list of nodes. So the first thing that will happen is that buzz user current will be none now, and so the application, the onCreate continues instantiating the other parts of the screen. What we will do is have a toolbar menu. So I'm just looking with another user, buzz user. So we register again. We have a new user, and as you can see, we have up here we have an add button, an action, and a logout action. To implement this, as in every Android application, we will create an application menu, an option menu with these two action buttons, and when we click one of those, we will have on option item selected, so will be called, and with the item clicked, and if it is an add action, we just start the edit activity. Otherwise, we will see, as we will see later, we call the logout action. So starting an edit activity will take us to this simple activity. Is actually use a fragment to implement the editing. So here is the add node fragment. As you can see, following along in the application, clicking on it, we will start. Okay, we will have this simple screen with the title, the content to edit, and then when we from edit activity again click on the add node action. Here we are. So we will call this save on Baasbox. Save on Baasbox will show a dialog, and it will create an initial document that represents the record on the server, and it will contain the title that we provided in the content. Here we are. So to create this record, we will define which is the collection to which it belongs, and fill it with some properties. Bus document is just like JSON object with some extra properties and default properties. And so once we have obtained a new document here with this get data, we will call same on Baasbox of this. So bus document has a method save, also asynchronous. We can use this option to indicate to Baasbox that we want to ignore overlapping updates. In this case, there will be no update because the document is fresh and new. And so, in the same fashion of what happened before, we have a callback that will be invoked when the save on the server completes, and we will hide the dialog, and then if the save action is successful, we will go back with this code. Otherwise, we can check if what kind of error we had. If this error is an invalid session exception, probably our token is expired. So we indicate this. Otherwise, there was another kind of error. Probably the server is unreachable, or I don't know, and so we log it. Well, when we are finished with this action, if all went good, we will be back in our note list activity. And in note list activity, the onActivity result will be called. So as you can see, we choose between different cases. If we have a failure due to the expiration of the session token, we will go back to the login screen, because we will allow the user to input again his username and password and log in again to the application. Otherwise, we show a message to the user. And in the common case, when the creation of the new node has been successful, we just refresh the documents. So because there may be many documents on the server, this could be a slow operation. This app is not optimized for performance or caching at all, but as you can see, it's really easy to add back all the documents that we have created. Baasbox will take care to show only the documents that are visible to the user who created it, because we have not altered the grants. So this simple call fetch all that requires which collection you want to fetch from, and as always, as you have learned following the same pattern, we have a callback. And in our callback, we just hide the dialog that was shown before and refresh the content of this object list fragment. In the same fashion of what happened before, again, it could happen that if you have configured the server to do so, that the session tokens expire, and in this case, we go back to the login screen. So this is the list fragment. It just extends a list fragment, so it has a list and you know, an adapter in the classic form of a list view or in an Android application. So the refresh just where is it? The refresh is called with a list of Baas documents, because in this case we have fetched an entire collection, or part of it if we provide query criteria. And so we clear the current documents shown in the collection, we add the fresh ones, and notify the adapter of the changes, so that those are shown in the UI. I think that's almost everything that the application does. Talking with Baasbox, very simple steps. Maybe we just take a look at what we do when instead of creating a new node, the user tries to log out. So in the on option item selected, what happens is that the action is identified as a logout action, and logging out is as simple as getting the current user and using the logout method. Logout accepted as always logout handler, and the logout handler just simply tries to log out. We have so it actually goes on logout and come back to the login screen. So I think that it's almost all that we need to know about this simple application. To if you just to have to make sure we are using this version of the SDK, and no, just well, yeah. So, goodbye, Baasboxers.